In the UK, Dairy Lee's prepackaged snacks come in 3 main varieties.
Harry, I thought we were comparing Lunchables.
Unfortunately not. They're actually no longer called Lunchables in the UK. Mondelez rebranded them to Lunches in 2023 in an effort to align them with the rest of their products. The products are Dunkers, Snackers, and of course, Lunches. The sizes differ slightly depending on which fillings you get. It's strange to me that there is some overlap in the sizes between Snackers and Lunches. Lunch, to me, should be more of a substantial meal, whereas a snack is a snack. So for me, it's odd that some of the Snackers are just as big as the Lunches.
Well, our Lunchables come in a variety of sizes. Down here we have the small snack kit, aka Dunkables. Moving on, we have the snack kit, the classic. In the middle here we have the Lunchable Crispy Grilled Cheesies. Just kidding, not available in this part of the country, but they appear to be frozen grilled cheese sandwiches. Moving on, we have the Lunch Meal Kit. And down here at the end, the biggest portion size, I guess, is the Lunchables uploaded. Look at this thing. You got the sub sandwich, you got chips, Hershey Kisses. Now the product weights vary slightly depending on your choice of snack. For example, the ham and American cheese cracker lunch snack kit weighs 3.2 ounces, while this one that looks to be the same size, the nacho cheese dip and salsa lunch, weighs more, 4.4 ounces.
There's some variants in the UK too. For example, the chicken and cheese lunches weigh 68 grams, while the ham and cheese weighs 74. Since our lunches are slightly smaller, the other thing I wanted to check was exactly how much of each ingredient we're getting. Here is a box of UK ham and cheese lunches. Man, I have not opened a packet of lunches or Lunchables for about 10 years. No, longer than that. I always forget how old I am.
Here's a US ham and cheese Lunchable box. We are going to lay it out for you right now. That's all right. But the question is the weight. How much do we actually get here in the US? First thing I'm gonna do is weigh the ham.
A little bit more cheese. About 26 grams of cheese.
All right, now the crackers. Certainly the crackers weigh even less, right? What about the largest multi-pack size? In the US, we have the ham and cheddar cheese and turkey and American cheese cracker stackers snack kit variety pack. Where is it? I'll tell you where it is. Sam's Club, where I am nowhere near one currently. Couldn't get it. It contains 3 ham and cheddar snack kits and 3 turkey and American cheese snack kits for a total of 19.2 ounces of Lunchables.
When it comes to lunches, they're typically just sold individually in the UK, although I was able to find a 12-pack on a wholesale website. I think these are more marketed at shops rather than individuals or families, but you know, if you've got a lot of kids to feed, then could be your option. The 12-pack of these would be 888 grams or 31.3 ounces of Lunchables. That does make it bigger than the US's largest size, but who's got the most options?
Here are all the Lunchables in the US you won't find in the UK.
Here are all the Dairy Lee and Lunches products from the UK that you won't have in the US.
We have a ton of options in the US, so we're going to break them down into categories. Let's start with the classic cracker stacker range. We have just about all of them. Ham and American cheese, ham and cheddar cheese, ham and Swiss, light bologna and American, turkey and American, turkey and cheddar. The only one we couldn't get were the mozzarella and pepperoni cracker stackers. Ham and American also comes with a chocolate cream cookie, also known as an Oreo. I mean, look at this though, like the ham, that has like perfect coverage. Cheese is square, not circle, don't know why. Breaking news, everybody. I've never had a Lunchable before. And I could demolish all these. I could demolish this and then have a lunch. If I were to get a Lunchable, I probably would pick the ham and American cheese, but also ham and cheddar. What do we think? How strong is this cheddar gonna be, right? I'm not tasting a difference. Let's go straight cheese. I mean, I do in theory taste a difference, but it's so subtle. Ham and Swiss, not a big Swiss guy. I'm not tasting any difference. Also, I want to point out, Swiss has holes in it, doesn't it? Where are the holes? Moving on, bologna, light bologna. I don't know why light. Do you think they're getting ahead of the fact that people kind of consider bologna to be unhealthy or fattier? I don't know anything about bologna. Okay, bologna, we love it, right? What cheese is this? American? Doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, we got bologna, we got cheese, we got crackers. Lunchables just set a generation up to be obsessed with charcuterie when we got older. Now we move on to the turkey section of the video. I'm curious, yes, they're different, But could you tell? Like if I like, which is which, but. Minuscule difference. Okay, turkey and cheddar, I guess we can just look. Oh God, my fingers are all slimy from the sweat of this produced meat. There's a block of cheese for you right there. I mean, this is me if I was a kid. I would be like, this is what I would do. I would just like stack it up. Yeah, maybe don't do that.
The British equivalent of the US Cracker Stackers is just our Lunches range. We actually only have 2 of these in the UK. Lunches Ham and Cheese and Lunches Chicken and Cheese. Here we have the pre-dissected ham and cheese ones. One thing I did want to do is figure out what the cheese was. It's very pale in color. On the picture, it kind of looks like cheddar, but in real life, it's got that kind of plasticky quality that you wouldn't normally find from UK cheddar. There is like a semblance of cheddar cheese there, at least in the flavor. But yeah, the texture of this, like cheddar cheese is not a rubbery cheese normally. This very much is rubbery. The amount of fold you can get on that without it breaking is quite impressive / concerning. What was the best way to eat these? I think I used to make sandwiches back in the day. Cracker, cheese, ham, cheese, cracker situation. Honestly, like not that bad. The cheese is on the rubberier side, as is the ham. Tastes pretty good. The crackers are pretty good, whole grain in there.
We got pizza Lunchables. I can't believe these are only exclusives to the US. These were seemingly so popular and, dare I say, polarizing. From what I read online, people either loved them or hated them. From what I can tell, because I've never had this, it's a cold pizza kit. On looks alone, this looks like a nightmare. In the pizza one, we have the extra cheesy pizza snack kit and the pizza with pepperoni snack kit. I'm going in on the pepperoni. You know it. No. Wait a second. Wait. Oh, God, I hate this so much. All right, so I got 3 of these. Surely you're kidding. Surely you jest with this. Is this what I'm doing? I have to say, though, man, they were stingy with the cheese. Whoa. What's the kid that has this for lunch at school? What do we think? Was this like popular kids had this? The weirdos? The one that clearly mom and dad weren't paying too close attention to him or her? Here's your lunch. Here's your child's lunch. Nope. No. Not tasting a lot of cheese, but oddly enough, I really don't taste any of the pepperoni either. I feel like if I was a kid, I'd really want this, and then I have it and be like, wait, this sucks. I feel like this would be like my first brush with like disappointment.
We actually used to have pizza Lunchables in the UK, but they seem to have been cut as part of Mondelez's rebrand, which is pretty sad. In addition to the Lunches range, in the UK you will also find Snackers. We have 3 options when it comes to Snackers. We have Snackers with mini Cadbury fingers, Snackers with mini Oreos, and Snackers with Cadbury Giant buttons. The main difference between the 2 is that the Lunches contain a meat option, either ham or chicken, whereas these just contain the crackers, the cheese, and then a sweet snack. The snack options included in these reflect the fact that Dairy Lee is owned by Mondelez, which is a big conglomerate which also owns Cadbury and Oreo. Which one do I want to try? Try the Oreos? Do you get like the same amount of cheese and stuff in here as you do in the other ones? I think you might do. 9 crackers in this one. Slightly more crackers than you get in a Luncher. I do love the mini Oreos though. Look how cute these are. Teeny tiny. I do like that they have Cadbury products though. That does feel like a way to make them a bit more British. Cadbury fingers, classic UK snack. Same with Cadbury buttons as well.
Check this out, slide it. Bam! You know what this is, huh? I'm in Southern California, so you know we got the nachos, baby. The nachos, cheese, and salsa snack kit. I wonder, tortilla chips, Kraft nacho cheese, salsa. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Lunchables are owned by Kraft Heinz in the US, which explains why they're using Kraft cheese. The chips are too small. They could have gone twice the size of this, guys. This small? How am I going to dip with this? Guys, let's get that Kraft cheese. Again, not heated up. It's that thing that I've been noticing a lot of Lunchables, the stuff that you normally eat hot. Finally, cold nachos. That's actually pretty good cheese. That's good. They went for the good stuff, the Kraft. Let's go. How's the salsa? This is good. I like this a lot. This is actually pretty good. I'm surprised. I'd be stoked to have this as I was a kid. Got stoked to have as an adult.
Joe, you're always criticizing UK nachos whenever we do one of these episodes, and then you go and do that to nachos. I just feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
Even our phoned-in nachos are better than UK nachos. How hilarious is that? We got nachos locked down in the USA, baby. More proof. There you go. Love it.
Dairylea Dunkers are an iconic UK snack food, possibly even more iconic than Lunchables or Lunches in the UK. In my school pack lunches, I was much more likely to get a sandwich and then some Dunkers as a snack versus maybe some Lunches as my entire packed lunch. So in these pots, you get a small pot of Dairylea cheese dip, accompanied by some snacks which you dunk into the cheese. The snack options come in 4 varieties. Here I have the Dairylea Jumbo Tubes. These are hollow. Land ahoy. You can also get Dunkers with Ritz crackers, with nachos, and breadsticks. These peel like so easily. Bang, off like that.
All right. Open up.
I do have to give special praise to the Jumbo Tubes because these are absolutely delicious. I'm not alone in thinking this either. I've seen tons of Brits claiming that these are amazing. I see a lot of tweets petitioning Dairylea to release them as crisps, which honestly I think is a genius idea. On the packaging, they're just described as corn and potato snacks, and the only flavorings listed are things like parsley, garlic powder, rosemary, and even some horseradish. The result is a crunchy but slightly airy, crisp snack that tastes kind of like sour cream and chive. These combined with the Dairylea soft cheese, just fantastic. I don't know what it is, but great. If there's like one bite that symbolizes nostalgia, that might be it. Ritz is another brand that's owned by Mondelez, so they're kind of just juicing their own sales by combining all of their products, which honestly, I respect.
Another US snack you can't get in the UK are chicken nuggets. Now, confusingly, they refer to these chicken nuggets as chicken dunks. If you take literally 1 second to look at the packaging, if I've ever seen a nugget, it is this. Lunch is served. Okay. First thing I'm glad to see, full-size Capri Sun. There you go. Now, this is a little sad. There's not a lot here. Dipping. These are very suspicious. Technically, yes. This is chicken, but look at this, people. Look, oh my God, it's like a pencil eraser, right? Look at this. But let's go, baby. Capri Sun, that's a good deal. Oh yeah, it's got really strong flavor. It's like medicinal. It's like really strong flavor.
Beyond the range of lunches, snackers, and dunkers, Dairylea does sell some other prepackaged goods in the UK. Firstly, we have these Dairylea filled crackers. I've never had one of these before. I think they're relatively new. I do not remember seeing them as a kid. It looks like it's the same cracker material that you would find in the lunches, but rectangular rather than circle. And then you have a layer of Dairylea cheese running through the middle. Reasonably generous with the Dairylea. The cheese that they've used here looks even more solid and congealed than the normal Dairylea, which is already quite emulsified. Pretty tasty, not that bad. The crackers have like a really savory flavor to them. Moving on from the filled crackers, Dairylea in the UK also does strip cheese. That's the actual name they decided on. I'm not doing a joke, that's actually what they're called. The issue is in the UK, when it comes to cheese in stick form, we have cheese strings, which are very iconic and have the market in a bit of a chokehold. The cheese is reminiscent more of a Dairylea cheese rather than a cheese string, which is a lot more orange. The thing with cheese strings is that they were tubular and you could kind of peel them at any angle and get nice little, very thin strips out of them. Whereas this is more like, you can kind of see that they've just been cut in half. I'm not convinced. And then within that, you can't peel it. Half the fun for me was like seeing how thinly I could peel a cheese string. Did it taste good? They also just don't really taste of anything. Again, like cheese strings have a very distinct flavor. They do have a cheesiness to them. Whereas these are just kind of like thin strips of not very much. I'm glad I was a cheese string household. One thing that is actually pretty iconic are the Dairylea triangles. Cheese triangles are another staple in, I'd say, UK kids' lunchboxes. You get these little individual foil-wrapped cheese triangles. While cheese strings kind of had the market on strip cheese cornered, I do think Dairylea actually had a claim to cheese triangles. The most iconic UK brands for these, I would say, are Dairylea and maybe Laughing Cow in terms of the triangles. It is what it says on the tin. It is a triangle of Dairylea cheese. Very soft. but tasty. One thing that I'm impressed by with Dairy Lee is how they've effectively taken the same cheese and turned it into a bunch of different products with slightly different consistencies. Because moving on from the cheese triangles, we also have Dairy Lee cheese spread. So Dairy Lee cheese spread is effectively the same as what you get in the Dunkers. And then finally, we have two versions of cheese slices. We have a regular version and a light version. The light version claims to have 40% less fat compared to the regular version. So these are effectively just American cheese slices, but made of Dairy Lee. It is tasty. It was a part of my childhood. I'm sure it's a part of a lot of Brits' childhoods. And from what I've tasted today, like, it's generally held up. It's not one of those things that tastes completely different now as it did when I was a kid.
Now's the time we talk about the Lunchables Uploaded. These came out a while ago and are clearly aimed at teens. To that end, the branding is sort of a gamer themed and is more substantial than the classic meal kits. I'll say, these got some heft to them. All right, this makes sense, okay. Oh, wow, oh no, you still gotta build it, which I guess makes sense. Plastic on plastic on plastic. Here's everything. You got the meat and cheese, you got your sub roll, you got your mayo, Pringle chips, 2 Hershey Kisses, and this, I was wondering, I was like, does this have 2 drinks? But no, it's Kool-Aid powder in the water. Actually, this is pretty smart. You guys want to make a sandwich? All right, first of all, I'm gonna open this up. I'm surprised by like how little they're giving us. Look at how thick the bread is. Man, they still went with this size cheese though. Still went with. What cool teenager gets to make this in the cafeteria at high school? It just seems like a really basic sandwich. I think I figured out why this doesn't work. Because the idea with Lunchables is you kind of like put your meal together, like play with it. Like it's easy, conveniently packaged, so you can just take it and go. And a regular Lunchable would cut out the time it takes to make a sandwich, right? But with these, you're just prolonging the sandwich making experience until later. It's the idea of like, I don't have enough time in the morning to make a sandwich, so I got this box. But then you get where you're going, and you got to make the sandwich there. It's not saving any time. Does that make sense?
Your parents' time.
Oh no. Here, you make it. Pringles, okay. I mean, I like Pringles. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I'd be more stoked for the chips, honestly. And then, kiddos, you can have yourself some ready-to-go Kool-Aid. What is the job I have? Kool-Aid is so good. If you're watching in the UK and you don't recognize this color, it's because it is banned in your country, probably. It's called Red 40, and if you're wondering why I'm the way I am, hey, here's why. Somehow, the regular pizza Lunchables are so popular that they were afraid they were losing their audience. They were getting too old. They were growing up. They decided to make a version of pizza for the teens. Hello, fellow teens. Here's the thing you totally want. Sincerely, another teenager. Deep dish pizza pepperoni. Oh, God. Oh, God. No, this again. Look at this. Look at, like, it's recessed in there or whatever. Yeah, a little Chi-Town deep dish over here, right? Oh, God. Am I supposed to use all this sauce? I don't know. If I was a boy and I saw a kid eating this, I'd be like, he suffered enough. Here we go. The sauce is sweet and gross, and the bread, though, is very strange. The pizza dough, I guess we could still call it a dough, cake-like, but not sweet, but really, like, would fall apart. Moving on. All right, do like gummy worms, love Cheez-Its, so if this was my lunch, I'd just be working on these. And once again, I don't have a tropical punch, but this is good. I like this. You know what? I would say if you're eating this, maybe like save the Kool-Aid and just have water, because that sounds really nice right about now.
Let's compare the ingredients of Lunches and Lunchables.
Here's a U.S. ham and cheddar cracker stacker Lunchable kit, and here's everything that goes into it. That's a total of 41 ingredients.
Here's everything in a packet of ham and cheese lunches in the UK. That's a total of 33 ingredients, which is actually 8 fewer than the US equivalent.
The US colors its cheese with both annetto and oleoresin paprika, 2 natural food dyes. How does our cheese compare to yours, Harry? The US ham also uses an artificial smoke flavor where the UK does not. And the US crackers also contain palm oil, the overproduction of which has been blamed for deforestation around the world. You may have seen some alarming headlines concerning the presence of lead in Lunchables. Testing by Consumer Reports found lead in several popular lunch kit brands, including Lunchables. Wow, I wish I read that before we started shooting this. The turkey and cheddar cheese stackers, I ate those. The pizza pepperoni, definitely had those. And the extra cheesy pizza Lunchables, phew, skip that, all contain roughly 70% of the maximum allowable dose of lead set out by the California Proposition 65 list of chemicals known to cause cancer or birth defects or other reproductive harm. 70%, why is it more than zero? So should we be freaking out and banning Lunchables from school cafeterias? Should be banning this from Food Wars. I can't believe how much I just ate.
The short answer might surprise you. Probably not. That's due to a few reasons. Firstly, lead is found in a lot of the food and drink we consume. It's a naturally occurring metal in the Earth's crust, meaning that trace amounts of it end up in our soil, water, and even air. Even the FDA acknowledges that it's not possible to completely prevent lead from entering the food supply.
It's also worth pointing out that the Proposition 65 limits that Consumer Reports based its testing on are extremely strict. Some say not strict enough. The law was brought in the 80s and forces businesses to disclose whether their products contain just 1,000th of the already established safe level. For lead, Proposition 65 limits it to 0.5 micrograms a day. A microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Fine. It's still more than I would like to be eating. Slate reported that the figure is based on OSHA's reporting from the 80s concerning workers breathing in fumes containing lead every day. Okay, good.
If the US turkey and cheddar Stackers Lunchables contain 74% of California's maximum allowable dose of lead, that means they contain 0.0000037 grams of it. That's an incredibly small amount, comparable to what you might find in fresh celery.
Lunchables might not be the epitome of health food, but at least where heavy metals are concerned, you probably don't need to worry for right now. Here's everything in a US Lunchable ham and cheddar cheese with crackers snack kit.
Here's everything in a pack of UK ham and cheese lunches.
That places the US Lunchables above the UK in every stat, but keep in mind, our box is about 15 grams larger than the UK's, which accounts for some of the smaller differences.
What that doesn't fully account for is the almost doubled sodium content as well as the more than doubled sugar content.
The highest calorie Lunchable product in the US is the crispy grilled cheesies pepperoni. The serving size is the whole box or 2 sandwiches and contains 600 calories. It also adds up to 58% of your daily recommended sodium intake and 55% of your recommended daily saturated fat.
The UK's highest calorie product is the Snackers cheese and crackers with Cadbury mini fingers. One of these contains 272 calories, although that's still less than half of the US pepperoni grilled cheese.
One thing that we thought would be interesting to point out is the protein content of Lunchables. At the start of 2023 school year, Kraft Heinz rolled out Lunchables into schools across the U.S., either for purchase by students or free via the National School Lunch Program. There are 2 products available, the Lunchables Extra Cheesy Pizza and the Lunchables Turkey and Cheddar Cracker Stackers. This one says American. I know I demolished the cheddar one. I apologize. However, they are not these, the ones you get in the store. Why is that, you ask? I'll tell you. In order to meet nutritional requirements for the NSLP, they actually had to change the recipe of the school Lunchables for improved nutrition. According to Kraft Heinz, this includes lowering the saturated fat content, increasing the protein, and adding whole grains to its crackers. So if you don't understand what I mean, these ones you buy in the store for your kids, by school standards, aren't healthy enough. They had to do other Lunchables that are, I guess, legal to be sold in American schools. One would think, why not just make those the default? I don't know either. However, increasing the protein content also led to increasing the sodium content as much as 25%. Yo! That's a salty Lunchable. In the US, a Lunchable ham and cheese cracker stacker costs $1.96. What? It's that cheap? Wow.
A box of ham and cheese lunches in the UK costs £1.60. With exchange rates at the time of recording this, that was $2.02, meaning that ours are slightly more expensive than the Americans.
It's also worth noting the weight of the two products. The US kit is 3.5 ounces, or 99 grams, and that is bigger than the UK kit, which comes in at 74 grams. Not only are our Lunchables cheaper, but we're getting more for our money too. The UK is paying 35% more per gram. How are you not outraged?
Lunches are relatively cheap, however I don't think one of these boxes constitutes a full lunch. Parents would likely still have to provide their kid with a drink and some additional snacks in order to really fill out a lunchbox. When it comes to lunch, many Brits love meal deals. Most supermarket chains will offer a combination of a sandwich, a snack and a drink in the region of £3.50 to £4. Here's a typical Tesco lunch meal deal selection. We have a chicken, bacon and stuffing sandwich, some salt and vinegar McCoy's crisps, and an innocent smoothie. With a club card, this cost me £3.40, which is just over double the price of some lunches. This meal deal comes to a total of 847 calories. So for roughly double the price of lunches, you're getting quadruple the calories. A meal deal also more closely resembles a balanced lunch when compared to a box of crackers, cheese and ham. So while they might seem like a cheap lunch option for parents, they actually might not represent the best value.
There's no denying that Lunchables are popular in the US. In 2022, they generated $1.8 billion in sales for Kraft Heinz. Good Lord. And they're like $1.60 a piece. That's a billion Lunchables. Now they've been added to school cafeteria lineups across the country, that popularity is likely to continue to rise.
Dairy products are undoubtedly popular in the UK. They claim to have 91% brand awareness, and the snacking cheese portion of their business added £56 million between 2022 and 2023. The UK is obviously a smaller market when compared to the US, but that number is nowhere near as impressive when compared to the US profit figure. Particularly when it comes to lunches and snackers, I don't think they have the same level of popularity as the US Lunchables seem to. Dunkers and maybe the cheese triangles reign supreme over here, but they're more of an addition to a lunchbox rather than the focus of the lunchbox itself. The struggle with these in school was always trying to pace yourself so that you didn't use too much of the cheese as you were going through and then end up with like just the dry crisps at the end. If you nailed it, then you would have a kind of even cheese to snack ratio throughout. Sometimes you'd go a bit heavy at the start and then have to really scale back on the amount of cheese that you were having. Or sometimes you'd have all the cheese too early and then be left with none at the end.